Okay, great. So today's topic is about investigator and site selection in clinical trials. We'll discuss about its importance, process, and documentation, various activities involved with this process. And this is actually an important process because while selecting an investigator or site, beforehand we ensure that we are going to achieve the recruitment target for the study. The data generated is ethical and of quality to be used for further marketing of that particular product or further publications. I'll start with the introduction. So we'll be discussing importance of the selecting the right investigator and the site for successful clinical trial outcomes. So who is the investigator? So investigator is someone who lead the study and ensure patient safety, compliance, and data integrity at site level. And then the sites are the location where the trial are conducted and where investigators and staff manage the trial procedures. So basically these may be hospitals, super specialty hospitals, multi-specialty hospitals, or even a clinic. Depends on the nature of the trial. So there are a few importance of investigator and site selections, which I have highlighted in this slide. So selecting the right investigator and the right site ensures that there is a high quality data collection. So the data is of high quality and is following the Alcoag principle. Patient recruitment and retention. Patient recruitment is ensured if we select the right kind of investigator and the right site. And then the patient retention based on their SOPs and their follow-ups. It depends that how long the patient stays into the trial, and patient retention is something of utmost importance because as soon as the patient progresses into the study, there are multiple follow-up visits, and it is important to have all the data at different follow-up visits to ensure the data outcome is of good quality. Then compliance with the regulatory requirement. We select the sites and the investigator, those who are not barred by the regulatory authorities, and the sites who have their institutional ethics committee, and those ethics committees are registered with the CDSCU. Then the timely trial completion based on the high quality investigator and the site. The data entries are done on time, and the data queries are resolved by the site team at time, and all the kind of support we get from the sites. So this is the basically the importance of investigator and site selections. That is why we put a lot of effort to find the right investigator in the site. Then there are certain factors which influence the site selection. Is the proximity to target the patient population. So we have discussed already in previous training sessions about the importance of this. So we tend to get the right kind of investigator with adequate experience with that particular therapeutic area. And then when it comes to the site, we try to find out the overall patient load, OPD load or IPD load of that particular therapeutic area on that particular hospital. So it is very important to find out that whether the investigator has already these kind of patient load and the site is having the adequate infrastructure to ensure that the right kind of patients are falling in at this hospital, so that those can be evaluated further for during the screening process and the enrollment is achieved for that particular study. Then we look out for experience of the investigator in that particular therapeutic area. As we earlier discussed, that the investigator should be trained by education, training, and experience. He should have adequate education, training, and experience in that particular therapeutic area before we select that investigator to be an investigator in that particular trial. Then comes the site infrastructure and the availability of resources. So infrastructure is something, having OPD area, having a place for conduct of monitoring visits, audits and inspections, adequate ethics committee, access to the local lab, and the IPD So the hospital beds should be there, the ICU facility to take up any emergency during the conduct of the clinical trial. All these things are, evaluated during the site selection process or the investigator selection process. The importance of investigator selection as alone is evaluated through investigators' medical background and expertise. We look out for the medical degree of the investigator, his updated CV, his medical registration certificate, MRC, then their understanding on the clinical trial protocols. We evaluate it through their experience in conducting various clinical trials, whether they have participated as principal investigator or sub-investigator in any of the previous clinical trial. How did they manage it? We actually conduct a kind of a one-to-one discussion with the investigator to understand their knowledge on clinical trial protocols and their understanding towards it. Then we further evaluate the ability to recruit and manage patients. This again is done by conducting a thorough discussion with the investigator to understand whether he is actually seeing those kind of patients and will be able to communicate the right kind of process into that particular clinical trial to the patients and will be able to manage the patient in case of any emergencies. Then we also look out for commitment to patient safety and ethical consideration. And all these points are done through collection of various documents and thorough discussion with the investigator during the site selection visit itself. Then there are few points